Hello and welcome to the Flagstaff County Podcast. I'm your host, Cary Castagna, Communications Coordinator for Flagstaff County. Today I'm joined by another very special guest, Leslie Cholowsky, Editor of the Community Press. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you, Cary. Glad to be here.
You're listening to the official podcast of Flagstaff County. So how's the newspaper business going?
You know, it's going well. It's very interesting, and this year the Community Press is celebrating its 115th year of publishing in Flagstaff County.
115 years.
It's a big responsibility to be the editor and really maintain that community spirit that the Community Press has represented for so many people through the decades.
Yeah, that's quite the legacy, though. 115 years. How many businesses can say that?
I think we are the oldest business in Flagstaff County.
Yeah, right I believe it.
Yeah.
So, by the way, how long have you been at the Community Press yourself?
2024 will be my 14th year with the Community Press. So,
so you started right after the 100-year anniversary.
Yeah, and I've been editor for 12 of those years, so it's been quite a journey.
Well, here's to 14 more good years. No.
Thank you. Let's hope.
All right, so every January, the Community Press publishes a look back at the news and events that shaped the previous year. Based on that annual feature called Year in Review, Leslie has selected 8 themes that have woven their way through the past year. Now, Leslie, can you talk a little bit more about that process?
Well, Cary, when I looked back through 2023's highlights, some news themes really stood out to me. So this year I thought instead of a top 10 or top 5 news items, I broke this year's news, or 2023's news, into 8 themes. And those were volunteers, milestones, passion, tourism, governance, community pride, generosity and giving, or our philanthropy, and opportunity, as well as some news items that, are just straight news and didn't fit directly into those categories.
All right, well, essentially it's the top news stories of 2023. So without further ado, let's look at the 8 news themes.
So a look back in 2023 in Flagstaff County highlights the incredible role that volunteerism plays in our communities. Without volunteers, we wouldn't have many of the events that we celebrate every year, like the Hardesty Rodeo, the Lougheed Fair, Canada Day celebrations throughout the region, Killam Rodeo, Area 53 Raceway, Discover Aviation, and so much more that happens here. In fact, earlier in 2023, Jackie Lovely, our MLA for Camrose, honored Area Fresh volunteer firefighters with certificates of appreciation from the legislature. It just goes to show how much volunteerism plays a critical role in our communities for all the things that ended up being in the newspaper.
Oh yeah, it's huge. Where would we be without all our volunteers?
Absolutely. And they do some pretty amazing things.
All right, that's the first theme then, is volunteerism. And the second theme is milestones.
Yeah, and this kind of works hand in hand with the volunteerism aspect. In 2023, many of our local events and groups hit some pretty important milestones. For instance, the Argyle Women's Institute in Alliance celebrated their 110th year.
Wow.
In Hardesty, it was the 75th annual rodeo. Lougheed celebrated their 100th fair. The Valley Ski Hill celebrated its 75th year. The 100 Women Plus Who Care in Flagstaff County broke the $200,000 mark in contributions back to the community. Mm-hmm. And one of our local volunteers, Jeff Northey from Forestburg, won Curling Canada's Volunteer of the Year and got himself a free trip to the Briar. Without these kind of milestones, they demonstrate to me the commitment that people have for not only the communities that they live in, but for the groups that they serve. And it's pretty amazing when you look back and see numbers like that.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, that was milestones. And now our third theme is passion.
So, Cary, without a group of like-minded people with a passion for something, we wouldn't have the opportunities that we do in Flagstaff. And these tied into some of the biggest news stories in 2023. For instance, the Discover Aviation event, which is put on by the Iron Creek Flying Club, a group of local pilots. This year attracted 140 people and garnered the attention of the Canadian Owners and Pilots Association when they received the Excellence Award for their contribution to that event. In Area 53, a group of people who got together because they loved racing. They're growing. The Area 53 Raceway saw 700 feet of new pavement when they opened their 2023 season, and they've got good crowds and good racing support. A passion for history is behind Forestburg's plans for the Jean Lougheed Historic Park, which saw this year the Wanda School in December moved from its place west of Forestburg right into the town at the spot designated for the new park. We have the Flagstaff Historical Society, which is a new group, relatively new group, started late in 2022, but really got going in 2023. And it's a group of people who have a passion for history. We have two successful theater groups in Flagstaff County, the Curtain Call Theater in Forestburg and the Flagstaff Players in Sedgwick, that routinely put on annual, or in Flagstaff Players' case, biannual performances for us to enjoy, brought together by their passion for entertainment. Two successful concert series exist in Flagstaff County, in Forestburg and Daysland, which luckily in 2023 saw them come back on their feet after a devastating couple of years following the pandemic. Because of a passion for their Scottish heritage, the 5th annual Gathering of the Clans Highland Festival took place last August, and the Battle River Pipes and Drums Band are growing all the time, and this year decided to disperse to and help celebrate every Remembrance Day ceremony in Flagstaff. All of these people have a passion for something, and through that passion and through the work they do in the community, they've brought these kinds of events to our community, and it's pretty incredible.
I see what you're doing here, Leslie. Yeah, there's a lot of passion, and all that passion takes lots of volunteers, and they've reached many milestones. It's incredible.
Yeah. So there you go.
Number 4 on the list is tourism.
And a lot of these things go hand in hand. Tourism and a lot of the events that I've already mentioned, those kind of events bring people to the region. And for many, it's their first look at what life in rural Alberta might look like. So we have a new historic park in Forestburg that's being started with the Wanda School, but they have long-range plans to bring in tourists to the region to highlight some of the history and amazing firsts that happened in the Forestburg region. We have Friends of the Battle River Railway, whose monthly excursions, like Oktoberfest, are bringing people to Heisler, whose Santa Days excursion are bringing people to Alliance, and are really promoting tourism. And it's just, again, a passionate group of volunteers. All the public events I previously mentioned. We have multiple Christmas-themed markets and events that happen every year. We have a new Hallmark Christmas event that happened in Killam this year, which was really a family-oriented event with a lot of local groups taking part, offering crafts or activities. The holiday train coming to Hardisty, well, the town turned that into a whole Christmas event, and they attracted hundreds of people to the region, as well as something as simple as Sparkle in the Park. Rent a campground space at Sedgwick Lake Park, decorate it, and they attracted hundreds of people to drive through. So it was really, I think we don't often think enough about tourism, but I think we have it in spades. And things that we take for granted, you know, as a business operating in Killam, for instance, I think that when you walk out into the street, Christmas at the Crossroads, and you see hundreds of people, families, lining the street waiting for the light up parade to start. It's amazing how important these events have become to the people who live in our communities.
Yeah. So there's a lot of great things happening
It
right
really
here in
is.
Flagstaff.
Yeah.
And yeah, the great thing is we can share that with people from outside the region.
Yeah, I think we need to stress on opening our doors and sharing the secrets of our success. And I
Yeah.
think one of them is these amazing events that we put on.
For sure. All right, number 5 is governance, the theme of governance.
Yeah, I think, of course, a newspaper's primary function is to report, to inform.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Flagstaff County is extraordinarily lucky. We have stable councils, we have stable administration in all our communities, and there's a lot that goes on that come as the result of decisions that those councils make. One of them was Flagstaff Waste's plastic recycling initiative. For those who don't know, Flagstaff Waste is owned and run by every municipality in Flagstaff County. And those board members who are elected representatives came up with an idea, along with Flagstaff Waste Management, to start this plastic recycling initiative. Their first pickup, they pulled 3 tons of mostly clean plastic out of the garbage. That's 3 tons of materials that didn't go into our landfill. So that's amazing. We saw Hardisty withdraw from the Flagstaff intermunicipal partnership, but this fall we saw mayors and CAOs meeting for the first time, talking about common issues that they had, common solutions, and that proved to me that regional cooperation remains very strong in the region from all municipalities. Flagstaff County and Forestburg Industrial Park plans were passed by both councils, another example of intermunicipal partnership that is looking forward to growth and to have the capacity to grow. Solar projects were announced for both Lougheed and Killam. That was exciting. We had a provincial election last year that saw Jackie Lovely re-elected as our Camrose member of the Legislative Assembly, or our MLA. We saw new speed limits in Daysland and Killam, respectively, 30 kilometers per hour, 40 kilometers per hour, all in the name of safety. We saw a new king crowned. King Charles III was officially celebrated his coronation in 2023. One thing I thought was really exciting, Cary, was an example of real democracy at work. So in 2022, Forestburg Schools grade 3 and 4 class commenced with a letter writing campaign to ask Forestburg Council to acknowledge some of the past history of Forestburg, which at one time there was another community that could have and maybe perhaps did become Forestburg, called Duxbury.
Oh, okay.
So the students read about this history and they thought it would be relevant to the history of the town or the village to rename one of the streets Duxbury. So they commenced a letter writing campaign, wrote to their local municipal council, who thought about the matter, who had their administration look into it. And in 2023, the avenue in front of the school was renamed Duxbury Avenue. Now, these weren't voters. This wasn't a big issue, but it was a really great example of how municipal politics and politics in general are supposed to work. The people talk, the council listened. I thought that was really terrific.
That's very cool. So that was governance.
Yeah.
Number 6, you have community pride.
Yes. Now, community pride is evident, I think, in every Flagstaff community. Again, you can go through the past, the other things that we've mentioned, the events that are put on in each community. But there are some other things that came to light. I noticed that Forestburg celebrated their long association with the Communities in Bloom Association this year. And really, that's been a point of pride for them and has resulted in some really beautiful gardens and floral displays throughout the town. Flagstaff Rural Crime Watch was proud to accept the Farmers Advocate Award this year for promoting local crime watch organizations. The Flagstaff Victim Services Unit held their first Local Heroes campaign in late 2022, and in 2023 they honored Cedric Fire Chief Tyson Armitage as the first local hero. A new Flagstaff initiative for graduating classes in Cedric, Forestburg, and Daysland schools saw tree planting ceremonies, not only leaving a lasting legacy of the class, but also a town beautification project. The Trailblazers Youth Camp, a leadership camp that was held by Flagstaff County, was held at the Hardisty United Church Camp at Hardisty Lake, but was also really highlighted that beautiful facility that again, volunteers have contributed to, have worked on, have put the effort in, and really created an amazing facility that our community should be very proud of. So that kind of sums up, there's so many instances where community pride is evident, but those were the highlights for me from the news in 2023.
Well, thank you, Leslie. Community pride, it's a huge...
It is a huge deal.
Huge deal.
When you're proud of where you live, you promote it, you enjoy living in it, you want to make your community better.
Yeah, people are proud to be from Flagstaff. Right?
They should be.
All right, that is number 6, community pride. Number 7, generosity and giving, philanthropy.
Yeah, I really think that Flagstaff County is an incredible community in terms of generosity. In 1923, in 2023, the first dinner set a record with a $42,195 raised. It was the highest amount of money they'd ever raised for their dinner, and that in turn funds all the initiatives that First either sponsors or partners with throughout the year. So it was an incredible fundraising event, and their dinner was sold out. It was held in Cedric last year. It was a really successful event. Another example of generosity and giving, Killam Twice Nice, who run the second-hand store in Killam. This year they revamped their grant program, for the first time inviting community groups in need to apply for funding. And their governing group said to me that instead of us presuming to know who needs money, we thought we would open it up and see if there were any new groups that we weren't aware of. And it was a terrific idea, and it saw much needed funding going to some new groups. And along with Cedric and Hardisty, these secondhand stores in our communities, they really support local groups and churches and organizations through their operations. So shopping at the Twice Nice helps your community.
Yeah.
Or the good is new wherever you do it. One example of generosity and giving is the 100 plus women who care in Flagstaff County. As I mentioned earlier, they topped $200,000 this year in money donated by members going back into community groups.
That's amazing.
It is. In fact, this year they were honored by the Battle River School Division as being friends of the Battle River School Division, and the Battle River Community Foundation, who named them as this year's community builders and honored them in a dinner in last fall.
Very well deserved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the flip side of the coin, it was a record-breaking year at Flagstaff Food Bank. In June, a 20-year record was broken for the most hampers and the most people helped. But that kind of help couldn't be given without the continued generous support from the Flagstaff community and from every community that makes that giving possible. And for us, we play a small part in collecting Flagstaff Christmas Sharing, and that too raised an amazing amount of money from generous individuals throughout the county. And that's a theme that I hear from organizations over and over again, is how generous the community is. It's a wonderful thing to hear about your community.
Unfortunately, that need is growing.
It is.
But it's great that we have the generosity in place.
It really is. It really is. I mean, I've seen news stories already in 2024 that have reinforce that idea that Flagstaff is a very generous and giving community. And I hope it remains that way.
Oh, for sure. All right, did you save the best one for the last?
Well, before we go into the best one, the very last one, I just wanted to look at some other notable stories that they were more hard news and didn't fit into these categories.
Yeah.
So the Bank of Montreal in Forestburg closed, which was a bit of a blow to that community, considering that it's thriving, it's growing. It's actually the biggest community in Flagstaff County, and even saw a jump in their school enrollment this fall. So, you never like to see things like that happen.
Not at all.
In 2023, we saw FRES Regional Director Derek Homey put a fire restriction on in the spring, followed by a fire ban, complete fire ban. So that was, I think indicative of everything that we saw in the province last year.
It was so dry.
It was so dry, and starting to get a bit scary. Luckily, we weren't one of the communities that suffered from the terrible fires in 2023 that saw our own air quality deteriorate multiple times through the spring and summer. In 2023, we saw longtime Battle River School Division Superintendent Rita Marler retire, replaced by new Superintendent Rayanne Holowin, who came to us from the Buffalo Trails School Division. So that was exciting. In another note, Tyler Benfield from Heisler won gold in a Skills Canada Alberta competition and went on to represent Team Alberta. Yeah, that was cool. I can't talk about news without talking about July's hailstorm. It hit Flagstaff County hard. Not only did it do crop damage around nearly all of the central area to some degree, but Killam and Cedric, Killam in particular, were hit particularly hard with toonie-sized, ping-pong-sized hail, damage to roofs, siding, vehicles, and you can still see if you drive through Killam, it looked like a war zone. I don't think there was a building that was unscathed. And I don't mind telling you, I was there and I was terrified. I mean, it felt like someone was dropping bowling balls on our roof. It was so loud and so intense. So I'm just glad no one was hurt that I heard of, and that damage is still evident today as you drive through, because I think local contractors were just overwhelmed by the sheer number of things needing repair. So hopefully we'll see the last of that disappear in 2024, and it isn't a trend. Flagstaff County was near to declaring agricultural disaster last year, we heard. It was saved by rainfalls in mid to late June. And that's something we learned through some timely and informative columns that we published monthly from Ag Fieldman Nick Dunn. Yeah.
Nick does a great job on that.
He does of informing. And Nick told me that, it was a week-to-week watch, and that we were very close. Many of our neighbors declared agricultural disaster last year. And to be fair, some areas of Flagstaff did not get that rain and did suffer extreme dryness. Last year we had a Let's Go Rural event. It was co-hosted by the Rural Health Professionals Action Plan, Flagstaff Healthcare Attraction and Retention Committee, and Flagstaff County, where a group of local high school students got a hands-on look at what a healthcare career would look like. I thought it was just fantastic.
That was a fun day.
It was. It looked like a fun day. And one of the greatest news stories we saw in 2023 was the reopening of the Hardisty Emergency Department after their 3-year, quote marks here, temporary closure.
That was long awaited.
That was long awaited, and good news for that community. And you know what? We've heard through our Hardisty correspondent, Ricky Matthews, that it has made a huge difference, a life-saving difference since reopening. And
That's
hopefully it will
hear.
Get back to 24-hour operations soon, but at least it's open.
Yeah, for sure.
And we know
that's the first step.
It really is, yeah. One other news story that came late in the year was Flagstaff County's withdrawal from BRIOC, and I think that will be a developing story as we go into 2024, just to see what the impact to the other member communities are and what looks like long term down the road.
All right, and the 8th theme, we saved the best one for last. Leslie?
Opportunity. And I think a look into our future. So in 2023, Cary, we saw new businesses in nearly every community in Flagstaff County. And that, I believe, is because we have strong entrepreneurial support throughout the region, both through Flagstaff County's economic development policies and local municipalities who really want to see their main streets revitalized. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't be possible without support from local individuals who've chosen to shop locally and support those businesses. It's so important to our communities. I think opportunity abounds in rural communities like Flagstaff County. Where else do you get does an individual have a chance to make a real difference in their community? And that's through their volunteerism, through shared expertise, or shared passion. Building into something new, some new facility, some new event. I think the opportunities are endless.
Very well said, Leslie.
Thank you.
I mean, people here are resilient and they're entrepreneurial. And when they see a good opportunity, they seize it. And
when they see a need, they fill it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, whether that need is, I need a hand, I need a hand out, I need help putting this on, or the best one to me is, I have an idea. And they just run with it.
Well, Leslie, I like how you did it this year. 8 themes that kind of tell the story of the top news stories of 2023.
Well, I'm a big fan of Flagstaff County as a region, as a whole, the people and what we have here. And I'm not really afraid to show that. And I kind of wear it on my sleeve. I hope that I can inspire more people to be really, really proud of our community, because I am.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I had you in today because I don't think there's anybody else that knows what's happening across the Flagstaff region.
I try.
Better than you.
Yeah. Well, the community press has been, since our publisher in the 30s had the idea to amalgamate all these struggling newspapers into one, mm-hmm. and the Sedgwick Sentinel and the Killam News and the Lougheed News and the Hardisty News and the Daysland News and the Enterprise and Alliance eventually became the community press. Now we're celebrating our 115th year this year, and I think it is our responsibility to not just inform our readers, but to celebrate our readers. So we're grateful to our readership and to our advertisers who recognize the community press as a viable source to get out the messages.
Mm-hmm. There's no better source for local news.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
In the Flagstaff region, yeah, for sure.
Well, that's what we find.
You're not going to find that on Facebook or Twitter or wherever.
No.
Sorry, I said a bad word. I said the F word, Facebook.
Well, I mean, Facebook has emerged as one of the competitors to local newspapers, but I think that nothing beats the knowledge and the overall variety of news that you get. Facebook has its place and serves a very valuable service, but I think local newspapers also have a place, and it's as in our case, a 115-year-old legacy that continues to be successful today.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with 115 years.
It is.
Now, I'm just going to ask you to gaze longingly into your crystal ball for a second and looking ahead to this year, 2024. We're almost through January, but what issues can we expect to be newsworthy for the rest of 2024?
Well, Cary, I think in 2024, we're going to see more of the same kinds of things. I'm hoping that we continue to see strong community events successful because people are participating and volunteering. I know that a lot of groups in our community still do need volunteers. And so I'd like to stress, if you have a time or the interest, or if you're new to the region and you don't know a lot of people yet, volunteering is a terrific way to meet people, make friends, and make lasting connections with the community. Mm-hmm. In terms of news, well, we always hope for it's always going to be good news and not bad news. That would be my wish for 2024.
Now, Leslie, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would like to add, Cary, when you mentioned crystal ball earlier, I don't have a crystal ball. So if you don't advertise and you don't invite me, chances are I don't know your event is happening. Now, we call the community press telling your story, so we always are grateful to accept news submissions, photos that you take, anything you'd like to share with us, that you'd like to share with your whole community. I would love to have it. But if you don't tell me, I can't be there. So just something to keep in mind for all these hardworking events. To me, it's like, imagine paying all the money to rent a hall, to rent your bridal dress, and you've bought the caterer, and you've booked the entertainment, and then you decide, oh, we don't have any money left, so we're not going to send out invitations. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what, if you don't advertise your event, who's coming, who knows about it? Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I think we have over Facebook there's so many different types of media out there right now. But in Flagstaff County, I think it's a sure thing if you tell us.
You've got to send out the invitations.
You got to mail the invitations. That's right.
Well, thank you, Leslie. This is the second time we've done this, and we did a similar podcast episode about 2 years ago. So I'm glad to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm not just saying this. I truly enjoy looking back at the news and events that shaped 2023. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining me on the Flagstaff County podcast.
Thank you for having me, Cary. I appreciate it.
All the best, Leslie.
Same to you.